Status quo bias is a cognitive bias that refers to the tendency of individuals to prefer the current state of affairs or to maintain their existing behavior or decision rather than making a change. In other words, people have a bias toward maintaining the current situation, even if changing it might lead to better outcomes. Here's how status quo bias typically manifests. Preference for familiarity. People often feel more comfortable with what is familiar to them. They may resist change because it introduces uncertainty or requires effort to adapt to new circumstances. Risk aversion. Status quo bias is often linked to risk aversion. Individuals may perceive potential changes as risky, even if there is a possibility of positive outcomes, and they may prefer to stick with the known rather than risk the unknown. Inertia. Status quo bias can also stem from inertia or a lack of motivation to take action. People may default to the current state simply because it requires less effort or decision-making than initiating a change. Endowment effect. The status quo bias is related to the endowment effect, where people tend to assign higher value to things they already possess. They may be reluctant to give up what they have, even if objectively better alternatives exist. Examples of status quo bias include employees resisting changes to workplace procedures or technologies because they are accustomed to the current way of doing things. Consumers sticking with their current brands or products rather than trying new options, even if the new options offer potentially better features or benefits. Policy inertia in government or organizations, where decision makers are hesitant to change existing policies or practices, even if evidence suggests that change would lead to improved outcomes. To overcome status quo bias, individuals can recognize the bias and its potential impact on decision-making, evaluate decisions based on their merits rather than defaulting to the current state, consider the long-term benefits of change and weigh them against the short-term costs or uncertainties, actively seek out information about alternative options and be open to exploring new possibilities, implement strategies to reduce inertia and make it easier to initiate change, such as setting specific goals or creating incentives for adopting new behaviors.